One other thing I want to touch on before we leave the whole title chase, Lucas Oil title chase, for 2024 is obviously we had the two names that were not mentioned in our rundown of who was going to do what, and that is Brandon Overton, who finished sixth last year, almost made the top four, and then came up short, ended up sixth in the points, and then obviously Jonathan Davenport, who hasn't said he's not running the Lucas Oil Series, but has also not confirmed that he is going to run. I guess in Davenport's case, he's kind of led everybody to believe that they're going to, I guess, see where they are after speed weeks. Is that what we're assuming, or has anyone heard differently?
I hadn't heard nothing.
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
guess I assume he's going to speed weeks.
He's there practicing tonight. Tonight at Golden Isle.
Yeah, so with that being the case, he's doing it all. You would have to think that if he's leading at the end of that and feels good and looks good, like surely he keeps on.
Okay. Well, my question is, why would Overton for sure, with all the money on the line, why would Overton for sure now say, I'm not going to do that? And Davenport seemed to be, I'm going to have to wait and see. I'm not committing to it. I'm going to wait and see. Like, it seems like with all the money on the line, those guys would be more apt to jump on board rather than to do something else. Is y'all, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
I believe that this outside looking in, this from over here, I believe Overton is kind of approaching a rebuild year for his program here and what he's got going on, the way everything transpired at the end of last year, and uh, where he's at. I don't think that he has any plan to go do all that. Obviously,
Hmm.
if he said he hasn't, I think he's looking to rebuild and make sure that when he leaves the shop, he's well prepared and has done everything he needs to do uh, to be where he needs to be to hopefully better his program instead of just kind of running it ragged like what you would do on a series.
Well,
Right.
especially in a national
Or
series,
national, right.
right? A national series.
Well, any
I did.
series.
Did I tell y'all
I'm
that?
just saying, like, but for them, definitely a national series would be, you know, the thing that would run them ragged. So,
Yeah.
I just think people don't know how much what it takes to run a national tour and not just run because a guy like Brandon Overton and Jonathan Davenport aren't interested in showing up and just being there, right? They if they're gonna do it and put the amount of energy and sacrifice it takes to run a national tour, they're going to be competing to win it. And I think for Overton, when he beat his head against the wall essentially last year trying to run Lucas Oil, and and talking to him, could clearly see he did not enjoy that. And I can certainly understand why. The amount of time on the road, away from home, away from your family, bypassing races you feel like you could go win to go run mid pack at a place you've not mid pack, but maybe you're shooting for a top, hoping to get a top five at a place you've never really been to, don't feel confident at. It's just is not enjoyable
Right.
for some of those guys that are used to winning and want to win. And so I think when if you're going to do what it takes to run a national tour, you want to be successful on it. You don't want to just be going up and down the road, beating the road, the highway, putting the miles on your on yourself traveling your equipment, both your truck and generator and all that, and your crew guys and the equipment on race car and everything engine. um you want to be winning, and when you're not winning, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable, and you kind of start wondering why I'm doing that, why am I doing this, and you look to do something different. And I
Yeah.
think that's 100% what is going on with Overton.
It's a
um
perfect example of that is next weekend when he's going to Screven instead
yeah,
of Altec.
all tech,
Screven's
exactly.
closer to the house for him. He's probably wins half the races he runs there, if not more. And he's going there to race with the Southern All Stars for 12,000 rather than going to Altec to race with the Lucas Oil Series for 10 and 12, or what is it, 10 and
yeah.
15, whatever it is.
Another
Yeah.
thing, additionally, I feel like I've never been to Screven, but I would also think that Screven is somewhere that's more like other places in the country where all tech
Tech
kind
is
of
just
isn't.
totally,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
totally different.
Every
So it kind of also something you would do at Screven might translate to somewhere else.
I know
Especially in the
that.
South.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
when we talk, I talked to him a little bit last year at Alltech, and he was just like, "Man, I suck here. I suck here. This place is weird." So that might have something to do with it. Just maybe he don't like Alltech, or feels like he just can't, dial it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And not to mention that field at Alltech is going to be, speed weeks. Everyone's there.
yeah.
Whereas Screven, last year they barely had a full field.
He
for
knows that
event. I
Joyner
mean,
dude's going to be at Alltech.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't better
Yeah.
not go there.
So,
And the other thing I'll add when you're talking about why these guys aren't, or at least either aren't running a national tour in Overton's case, most likely, and questioning it or debating it heavily in Davenport's case, I think another thing is there's a lot of opportunity. You don't have to run a national tour to make money.
mhm.
Right. Well, Overton
and-
didn't in 21.
Right.
Davenport didn't in 22.
Exactly.
Right.
Those
$8
two
million
great years.
seasons.
Yeah, those two really good years those guys had, they weren't running a national tour. I think I would bet Davenport is kind of waiting to see what happens with XR, right? Like, they haven't released their points fund information and payout information for their events this year. But, if that's what it's been the past few years, that's races, you might, pretty good points fund most likely, and high paying races you can run. You don't have to run a national tour to do it. And I mean, then you go from there and start adding in the weekend going places you want to go that makes sense, and the big races you feel, the world, the dream, all that stuff. All of a sudden you got a much more appealing schedule, and you get to decide when you take off a weekend or when you stay somewhat local a weekend, or whatever the case may be. It's a lot more appealing. And thanks to stuff, 2 national tours, events in independent events like the 50,000 to win show at Volunteer, right? That's going, stuff like that. The XR series, and to be quite honest, our series. I'm not saying, I have no idea if Davenport plans on running with us. I know Overton does plan on running with us some, and I imagine having those options to run for good money, most of those places within a 5-hour drive of his house, is a lot more appealing,
Right.
and it helps make that decision. So,
So what
and again, just go ahead.
my other question was going to be, what does it take for Davenport to, I guess that'd be sometime in March, he'd be making that decision, or people would know whether or not he's, or at least running it past speed weeks. What's it going to take for Davenport to stick with the Lucas Oil series? And where's he going to have to be, say, March, April, to stick with the series, you think?
I think he has to be top 3 in points.
Yeah.
I think,
And
I don't
winning.
think,
Winning.
yep, and
Like
winning,
Mhm.
feeling
winning.
like, yep.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'd say top 3, maybe top 4. Maybe it's hard to pull off if you're in a position, top 4 position, with that being the championship lock in. But I'm telling you, if he's not running like he wants to be running, expects to be running,
Yeah.
I think it's hard for him to stay with it.
Mhm.
And not that he's not capable of it, but these guys, like I said, RTJ, Hudson, O'Neill, Moran, they all came up to Volusia and look like they are picking up right where they left off.
Right.
It's hard to see. I mean, Davenport's not always that great in Florida anyway, right? Like, he's, struggled here recently, it seems like, in Florida. So it's hard to see him just coming right out of the gate and being, at that level. And that's why I just don't see, I don't see him sticking with the national tour.
I think that if he comes out the gate threatened to win, it really doesn't matter what position he finds himself in points. Like, if it's the top 4 every night, but he feels good about it and feels good where their program's at and everything, and he is 4th or whatever. It's all about driver feel, where he's at and how everything's going.
Yep. It'd be interesting to see where he go. He could shock us all, stick with it, and come out on top. But he was, he broke, what did he break? Less than 20 laps to go, and was ahead in the out of the 4 at Eldora when he broke, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but he was there competing to win the championship this past year.
I will say, I think it is less attractive, the 7-race playoff or whatever it is, versus everything coming down to Eldora, where
he is good. Yeah, really good.
Not the
right.
The best right now, if not one of the best ever
Mhm.
at Eldora. I think that is part of the reason he ran it last year. Whereas this year, there's, it's not as like, if I just got to be in the top 4 and all I got to do is win at Eldora, heck yeah, sign me up. Whereas
Mhm.
now it's, I got to be in the top 4 and I still got to.
I got to beat RTJ for 7 races.
7 races, maybe less attractive.
Right. Yeah, we'll see.
Don't forget what you just said there.
Nah, well, I'm that's his thinking, not my thinking. I was saying
he's already he's crawfishing on the rant already.
I'm not. I got him. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.